I know I've been pretty sporadic and kind of behind on my YouTube videos this spring. Just had a lot going on. Been driving for Old Dominion quite a bit this spring and been up on that range fence for, you know, with the amount of time I've been spending up there. Just hadn't done a whole lot of filming and just trying to keep on top of things, so the YouTube videos are suffering a little bit. I wanted to come out and just take a look here at these fields that we planted no-till. So right now I'm over here on the Wyoming side where we have our center pivots. And so in these two fields here, we did a 20-acre piece here and a 15-acre piece just on the other side of that pivot. And we planted that four-way mix here. So the beardless barley, oats, wheat, and peas. Then we also broadcasted the ryegrass in this also. So looking around here, you can see how green and, you know, fairly lush everything's looking. And I mentioned it in that video, but so we didn't spray anything out here. So we didn't kill any of the grass or any of the existing alfalfa that was still here. So everything's just coming up together. So we've got quite a bit of different species growing right now between the four-way mix that we planted and the ryegrass plus what was already established here. And it's kind of hard to distinguish what is what at the moment. It all just looks like grass right now, besides the few alfalfa plants that are still in here. And I just don't know how well the camera picks it up, but I can see my lines, like where the drill was planting the seeds. They're a bit lighter of a green, but I can make them out with my naked eye, but I don't know if the camera's making them out. But if you get down here close and look, so like here's a furrow right here, and so here's our peas. I'll pick this one. So there's a pea plant. So the peas are coming up, and you know, in that same furrow we've got the beardless barley, the oats, and the wheat. And so it's all coming up. You know, right here, go to this next furrow. Here's a pea, here's a pea, here's a pea, here's a pea, here's peas. I'm just pointing out the peas because they're the easiest to distinguish right now from what's existing here. And so I think as the summer goes on, as we get more and more into summer and start getting some heat and some more moisture, hopefully we'll be able to start telling pretty quick what's what once things get a little bit taller and more established. But right now it all kind of just looks like grass at the moment. But for the most part, it seems like most of the seeds are coming up. I haven't noticed any bare spots where they didn't take. And as I was mentioning, it would be hard to tell the spots that it didn't take because there's already established grass out here. So it would be hard to, like I said, it'd be hard to know if it was coming up or not, or if it's the existing grass. So right here, maybe you can see it a little bit better here. So this was a bare spot of ground. And so you can see our furrows here. You know, here's a furrow, here's a furrow, here's a furrow. And with that ryegrass, I don't know how long it takes for it to come up from such a small seed. I imagine some of this has to be ryegrass that is coming up also. So this weekend also, I didn't film any of it, but we branded our calves and got everything ready to go up on the forest here in a couple weeks. We were lucky to have a lot of family up here helping with that, and some family friends. So it's always nice when you got a lot of help, and just makes things go nice and smooth and easy. And everything went great on Saturday, and nobody got hurt, no animals got hurt. You know, we always seem to get a few bruises, but other than that, nothing too major. So I'm getting ready to head up on the fence again this afternoon. But before I headed up there, I wanted to just drive around and look at these fields real fast. And I want to go down here to the river pasture and look at it, because we kept a few cows home that will stay home off the forest. And so I still have 4 cows that haven't calved yet. So I kept all 4 of them home. I kept an older cow home that has a calf. Then I kept the 2 cows that have twins. So I kept both sets of twins home. And then also one more cow that has a kind of a sicker calf. It just hasn't done all that well. So I wanted to keep them home also. What I'm thinking is we'll probably just so there'll be 8 cows. And I got a new bull this spring also. I want to keep him home from the forest this summer. And we'll probably put them down here on the river pasture. So I wanted to run down there and look at it and check on our fences and make sure the river isn't washing anything out too much yet. So this is the fence line, this electric fence here that we got to keep an eye on in the spring with the high water, because with this elbow bend right here, the water eats away at the bank and causes it to collapse. And so I've had to move this fence a couple times over the last, over the years, just keep it from getting sucked down river. So just try to keep an eye on it. I think we're getting towards the end of our high water. We really haven't had any flooding this spring so far. It's been such a nice gradual warm up and then cool down that we haven't had an excess amount of water all at once. You'll get that flooding when you get really warm and it stays warm for a while. But like I was saying, we've had such a gradual up and down spring that I feel like it's kept the flooding from being too bad. But this is the river pasture where I want to put those 8 cows and their calves and then the bull. So if you guys remember from a few years ago, I'll go up here, and I did the same thing a couple years ago. I ran an electric fence from one of these gates that the pivot goes through over to the watering hole and just sectioned off this river pasture and gave the cows and calves access to this little piece here. So this is where I'm talking about running the electric fence. As I was saying, if you watch some of our videos from, it might have even been 2 or 3 years ago. Well, right there, I still got the baling twine on the post. So I hooked the electric fence onto here and ran it over that way. I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but that's where our watering hole is, just in front of those big trees there. So just ran it over that way, diagonal across the pasture here. Gave the cows access to everything over this way. And we kind of like to put the cows down here first on this section because this ground is actually fairly gravelly. So if we don't get any rain, this will actually dry up fairly quick. So we try to make use of it while it's still nice and green and has an opportunity to grow. And we choose this spot here because you can see the track here. So the pivot runs through here. And that way, if I put the electric fence right on this side, this is the last opening in this fence line where the pivot runs through. There's 4 openings in this fence line for 2 of the towers as they circle through this pasture and go back into the hay fields here. So putting it here, then I don't have to worry about opening and closing gates all the time to let the pivot go through once we start watering. This way it's over in the corner and the pivot can do its thing and we don't have to worry about running gates over, you know. So this is the watering hole. This is where I tie off the electric fence on this end, and we just run it back diagonally towards that fence line there. And like I said, then the cows have access to this whole side of the pasture, and this is where they water out of, in these bust up panels. Grass is sure starting to look nice up here, and all these wildflowers are blooming. So I just finished splicing and stretching this section of the fence. I'm gonna head over down this one. The trees and brush gets really thick and heavy down here. This is when I gotta walk. So then it goes down into a little ravine, gully type thing, then comes back up. I don't know how well the camera picks up that little clearing on the other side of the hill. So it goes down, then comes back up on the other side there. Then I can take the side by side to the other side once I get over there. Hey, buddy. Hey, cute girl. Hey, cute girl. Hey, sis. What do you think, Isa? Should call it a day? Spence and I just put a long full day up here. Call it a day. I think tomorrow we'll be able to finish this reseed section, and then we'll be pretty much ready to bring the cows out next week. So it's nice to kind of be ahead of schedule a little bit. So my brother-in-law Spence and I just finished packing up all these supplies, all these posts, wooden posts, T-posts. We had to pack them up here on our back because this section of fence isn't really accessible with the side-by-side. We've got a lot of rotted posts and things that need to be replaced in this section. It kind of weaves up and around along these ridge lines here and goes over there, then dumps off the back side. There's just no real way to get a side-by-side up here. If you get a side-by-side to this spot, you'd be fine, but off this side is too steep and too many like creek crossings that you can't get up, and same going that way. So we got our workout this morning, and we're gonna keep getting our workout as we keep shuttling the stuff further to the west. It's gonna be a long day. So we've already put in 3 posts here, 2 more posts going this way, a bunch of T-posts going down off this backside, off the steeper part here is pretty rocky, so we just pounded in 5 or 6 T-posts down here. I just need to finish tightening in this top wire, and we'll move on to the next section. So we took the cows up to the range just a couple days ago. I didn't do any filming of it, but here's a couple clips that my family took just to give you an idea of what went on. We had plenty of help and things went really smooth, which is always the way I like. I don't like the excitement, I like when things are nice and boring and went smooth.
I know. icy up there. Brian got out. You're going into the slough.
Getting too tired. Mission accomplished. Almost.
Morning, everyone. So as I've been saying, I've been very sporadic with filming and making videos last little bit. But yesterday we finally finished our calving season. We had our last calf of the season finally. I'm gonna walk out here and I'll show you what we got going on. But real quick, I wanted to show you the corrals. Earlier this spring, you know, I was cleaning up a lot of the stuff we had around here in the yard and around this Quonset, because I wanted to put in another pen for our corrals here. We did our branding 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I ended up putting in another little pen here, just using these freestanding panels. I opened it up because the other day, all the cows that we kept home off the range, we kicked them out here. We kicked them out here into this little hay yard that we got. Hi, cows. Hi, cows. Hi, kiwis. So we kept, I want to say, about 8 cows home and my new bull. And for now, we just kicked them, like I said, we opened up this corral here. And we kicked them into this hay yard area inside the elk fence, because we've got all this nice green tall grass here we wanted to eat down. And we thought this would be a pretty good spot to stick them for a little bit, just so they can eat down all this grass and reduce our fire danger here later this summer. So we just put up a little electric fence along the edge of this equipment shed to keep the cows from going in here rubbing on the equipment. I'm sure if the cows want to, they'll just duck under and get in there. But hopefully they won't do much damage. You can see out here by these trees and along the elk fence on the road here, there's plenty of grass for these cows and the bull to eat. You can see they've started trimming off the tops here. There's still plenty for them to eat though. We've had them in here we put them in here Saturday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So they've been in here for 4 days. Then here in our hay shed, we just put up a dummy wire. It's not energized or nothing. But with all this green grass, I don't imagine they're gonna want to go in there and eat any dry hay real bad. So we've got a dummy wire on either side to keep them out, and then we have these elk panels from a couple years ago that keep them out of the sides. So it looks like most of the ones that we kept are just right in this area here. So this red cow here, she's old and didn't winter super well, so we kept her home. Then we've got all the twins home. So we kept the cows that had the twins home just so they had maybe easier time feeding them twins through the summer, just on better grass and whatnot, and not hiking up and down mountains all summer. So we kept them home. Then I'd cut out, when we did our branding and whatnot, I cut out 3 cows that hadn't calved yet, and they're way behind the rest of the herd. They're probably close to 5 to 6 weeks late, and we had 3 of them that hadn't calved, and the one last night was the last one to calve out of the 3. The other 2 calved within this last week, so all 3 of them calved within a week of each other. But they were real late, so we just kept them home, and I imagine we'll probably just keep them home for the summer instead of trying to haul them up there. We've got some little pasture pieces we can turn them on, because after they eat all this stuff here inside the elk fence, we'll probably kick them down to the river where I was showing you on that pasture piece, just to the north side of where the pivot goes. So anyway, we kept this red cow home just because she's a bit older, didn't winter super well. Then calf 4 and 5 here, those are twins. Calf 47 and 46 are twins. And if you can see right here, that calf right there by these old silage bags, this is the calf that we just had last night, and is our last calf of the year. It's a little bull calf. So that black cow there's a twin mom. This cow here just barely calved this last week, that 28. Hey coos. Hey coos. So yeah, this is our last calf of the year. Oh buddy. Got a cute little calf. This is the mom here, this one. So that little red calf there was another new one. And oh, that other black calf right here is the other new one. So these 3, that one walking away, this guy, and the little red calf. These are our last 3 calves of the year. Then this Bronco-faced cow right here, she just has a sickly calf that I wanted to keep home and keep an eye on. He has a lame leg and kind of a swollen knee, so I want to keep him home. So in turn I had to keep the mom home, of course, also. Then my dad had 1 cow and calf that he wanted to keep home because she was pretty lame. So like I said, I think there's, I want to say 8 cows, and the bull we kept home off the range. Just walking around here, you can see there's still plenty of grass for them to eat. I'd say at least another week or so, I'd imagine they've got feeding here for. Hey, Kiwi. Hey, Kiwi. So on my to-do list today is, believe it or not, more fencing. I feel like all I've done is fence for the last 4 or 5 weeks. But we're pretty well done on the forest. There's a couple, maybe I probably got maybe two or 3 more days worth of fence up there. But one of the sections we're putting in a whole bunch of new posts, and we're waiting to get for the creek to lower in water, just so we can get a skid steer up there to pound some posts, and then we'll get that section done. And then other than that, I got maybe 1 more brace I can build, and then we'll have a day or so in the fall letting down that letdown fence. But other than that, we pretty much got her whooped. It's quite the ordeal this summer, or this spring. Spence, my brother-in-law, that's been helping me on the fence, we spent 3 days up here on the Tin Cup side. We're just working on a little half-mile section of fence, just pretty much rebuilding the whole thing. I bet we put in 70 posts. So I bet we did. I'd have to look. I try to keep track, but 30 or 40 wooden posts, and then about the same 30 or 40 T-posts. So we were digging a lot of holes and just pretty much rebuilding that whole fence. And so that's been quite the project. And now I haven't done any fencing here on the ranch. So that's what I'm gonna start working on today. I'm gonna go start working on some fence down at Randall's. And then I probably want to move this electric fence that we have out here on the Idaho side that we're using to keep the cows out of that little field that we planted the 3-way into. And that's probably what I'm gonna move down to the river and section off that pasture with down there. I don't know if I'll get to that today, but that's one of the things I'd like to get done. I'm probably not gonna film any of the fencing. I'm just tired of filming fencing. I imagine you guys are tired of watching me fence. But I figured at least to show you what the hayfields are looking like down here at Randall's. I feel like they're looking pretty good. Let's see if we can get the dogs to run through here to give you an idea on how tall things are getting. Isa, Piper, come here. Come on. Come here. I'm sure you noticed the dogs got shaved. They got their summer clothing on. We like shaving them in the summer just because their hair gets so matted and ratty throughout the year, just being outside dogs, getting in the mud and the water and whatnot. And it just helps keep them cleaner. And I think they like not being so hot in the summer. But yeah, the alfalfa is, you know, above knee high here, about knee high. And the patches of grass are getting close to thigh high. We're probably still a good, 3 weeks or so from haying. And things have actually started drying out quite a bit. We haven't had any significant rain for at least 2 or 3 weeks, I'd imagine. We had a pretty good storm that came and just sat in here, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but since then, it's been about it. And it's gotten pretty warm and hot, at least for up here. Even today, I think we're supposed to be in the mid-80s, which is, pretty warm for us. So today, just so you know what I'm doing down here at Randall's, I'm doing this perimeter fence in the hay fields here. So it starts right here. Well, it doesn't really start here, but this is where I'm going to start. It goes up here to the road, goes all the way down the road. I don't know if you can see that house, probably half a mile or so down that way. And it comes back up to the spring. And over this area, this is where we were feeding the cows last winter before we started calving. So this is I think it's a 90-acre hay field here. And it's got a fence around the whole thing, so that's what I'm gonna work on today. Just getting this perimeter fence done in the hay field. I mean, luckily just driving around, just glancing over things, nothing looks too crazy, in need of much repair. I know there's a few posts I'm gonna need to dig and put in. But other than that, just some staples and some broken wires. but nothing like what we've been dealing with on the forest fence. So this will be a little bit of a break, I think. I'm gonna end this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.